Section 1, Chapter 2, Tiny-scale dragons. Tiny-scale dragons are the smallest species of true dragon known to still be alive today. They range from a foot to 3 feet tall, and their wingspan ranges from 2.5 feet to 7 feet wide. They are known to have a wide range of colors and patterns, which is a stark contrast to the rest of known dragons, which typically have a limited range. The most common colors are reddish orange, gray, black, brown, cream, and white, though most shades of blue, green, red, purple, orange, and yellow have been found. Most of them have a base color which is typically lighter with markings of either one or two secondary colors. These include brindle, which involves 3 colors and splashes all over the body so that only angular parts of certain colors show through. Patches, which involves patches of a secondary color over a primary color. Light belly, which demonstrates a white belly and face with a darker color everywhere else. Stripes, which is self-explanatory, and speckles, which is like patches, but the patches are smaller than 3 inches squared and more rounded. No matter what the patterning is, typically the underwings and underbellies will be a lighter color than the rest of the body. They are known for their frog-like body type and ability to destroy human fields by trampling them in search of mice. This leads us to their origins. Nowadays, Tinyclaws are known as common pests that destroy fields, pets, and creatures that make much too much noise in the middle of the night. Their origins, however, are far more interesting. It is believed that millions of years ago they were a slightly larger species that looked like a cross between a Tinyclaw and a sunscale. At this point, they split into 2 groups, a group of ambush predators and a group of scavengers. For today's purposes, we will focus on the latter. These dragons would eat the rats that preyed on Thanian farmers' grain. Because they were living on smaller prey, they evolved to be smaller themselves. Thanian farmers, realizing that they had more grain in their stores when the tiny scales were around, began feeding them fat scraps of meat, fish, and bread to keep them around. Archaeological excavations at Demary, a village in northern Thanius near the Linnaea River, shows various wooden toy structures, statues, and other art featuring tiny scales. This village was burned to the ground during the Drauvan Empire's conquest, so it is a modern miracle that these artifacts survive. This leads us to believe that Thanians had no fear of these creatures and instead would build things in their honor, potentially meaning that they could have seen them as gods. The Drauvan conquest of Thanius took many years, during which several emperors saw Tinyclaw dragons and brought them to the empire, typically as gifts for their wives and daughters. Because Tinyclaw dragons multiply at a rate between cats and rabbits, the palace became swamped with them, and emperors began dumping them in forests, which is why they are feral in the Drauvan Empire and surrounding kingdoms. Because Drauvan nobility kept Tinyclaws as pets, when princesses were married off for alliances, they took their pets with them. A similar thing happened in each kingdom, which leads us to where we are now in the modern day. Tiny scales can now be found on every single continent as a common house pet, pest, and feral creature. Despite their common role as both pest and pet, their behavior in the wild is fascinating. They form colonies of approximately 15 to 40 individuals. These colonies function as villages. Males hunt and bring food to the females, which guard their eggs in a singular communal nest. This seems to be to keep males from destroying the eggs. These wild dragons hunt mice, birds, and rabbits, typically 1 to 3 pounds of meat per day. Female dragons, which lay the eggs and oversee the hatchlings' growth, can lay from 4 to 9 eggs per clutch. They can lay a clutch every 8 months, and it takes each egg 2 months to hatch. After hatching, it takes a hatchling 6 months to mature. This means that Tinyclaw population multiplies exponentially regularly, which is why they were dumped frequently. Whether you are obtaining your Tinyclaw dragon from the wild or from a shelter, you should obtain it at 3 to 4 months of age. This is when they are most trainable. Unlike certain species that are completely untrainable once they have matured, they are simply not as trainable. If they are wild, they will attack you past that age, however. If it is cold enough to snow, then bring them inside. They are from Thanius, which is a vast desert, so they are not adapted to cold weather. They enjoy fire even if they cannot produce it themselves. They also require exercise every day. One way to provide this is to tie something to a shiny string and pull it around and let them chase, similarly to what you would do for a cat. They also enjoy games of tug-of-war with thick rope and chasing mice. For this reason, many farmers have barn dragons along with barn cats. They can get higher than cats, while cats can reach into more corners. This leads us to the point that Tinyclaw dragons get along with other pets well. They may attempt to roughhouse with your cat, but they are playing and a well-aimed claw at the nose will get them to never do it again. They seem to get along well enough with dogs of all types, but many of them get annoyed with the kind of dogs that are loud. Tinyclaws are thought to have sensitive ears and as such avoid loud noises like the plague. This brings us to the topic of children. Tinyclaw dragons are not intentionally aggressive towards children. If you have a baby or toddler that cries a lot, your dragon will roar when the child cries because they want to drown out the high pitch. They also have been known to knock over small children on accident during play, as they seem to not know how unsteady humans are. However, they do not bite. Another thing to note is their diet. Tinyclaw dragons are obligate carnivores and as such require large amounts of meat. They are capable of eating 1 to 3 pounds of meat per day, depending on their size and how much exercise they get. If you are worried that your Tinyclaw might be overweight or underweight, the way you can check is by running your hands over where the ribs are. You should be able to feel the ribs but not see them. If your Tinyclaw is overweight, it may have issues flying, breathing, running, and doing other activities. Tinyclaw dragons will attempt to drink milk. Do not let them drink milk. Certain proteins in the milk will make them sick and cause them to throw up. They will also attempt to eat carrots, pumpkins, and celery. Nobody is quite sure why they like to do this, but as far as we can tell, there is no harm in allowing them to eat a few. Some speculate that it helps them with digestion. The vitamins in these vegetables seem to help them with their eyes, but they seem to survive and thrive without it. Moving on to speaking. Tinyclaws are capable of speech if you train them from a young age. They need to be spoken to like young human children from their hatching. This will be difficult, especially because hatchlings are completely reliant on their mothers for the first 3 months of their lives. If the mother is your dragon, you can have access to the hatchlings and as such talk to them. The Draven royal family was fond of doing this to their pets because of the novelty of having a talking lizard pet. It was previously thought that speaking tiny-scale dragons could only mimic humans and could not truly understand speech. This has been truly proven wrong by Milo and Erin Sharon, who conducted a study consisting of 315 speaking tiny scales. The results concluded that tiny scales have an understanding of language similar to that of a child in middle school. All of them could follow complicated commands, demonstrating that they understand words clearly. They just seem to be disinterested in what humans have to say, and as such are disinterested in saying things to humans. They also seem to enjoy repeating their sentences, which is what led to the original rumor of them being mimics. Another thing to note is how they fly. Their wings are short and round compared to their body size, especially when you compare them to other dragons' wings. This means that they are very good at short bursts of flight, quick changes in direction, quick takeoffs, and maneuverability. It also means that they aren't very good at flying for long periods of time. Do not be worried if your Tinyclaw doesn't like to fly. In the wild, they don't fly for much other than to get away from predators. For a creature capable of flight, they spend a shockingly short amount of time in the air. They hunt, sleep, and eat on the ground. It has been proposed that they may lose the ability to fly one day. This is a controversial theory, however, as they fly in the wild regularly. whatever becomes of them, they are dear. Join us in the next chapter where we'll be discussing sun scales, the Tinyclaw's sister species. Hi, if you're still listening to this, thank you so much. I'm back in school now. If you're listening to this, this is scheduled to go back up when I'm back in school. I will still try to make these videos. I enjoyed writing these, and I will try to keep doing them, especially if these get popular. It is very enjoyable for me. Like, I enjoy making them more than my regular videos, but they take a very, very long time. So I'm not sure. Like, I have the next episode written, the one about the sun scales, but other than that, like, I don't know what the next episode's gonna be like. Yeah. My regular content is easier to make, so that's, like, I'm probably not gonna switch to this full time. But yeah. Anyways, thank you for listening. I really appreciated it. If you got this far, leave a blue heart emoji.